saying the connection between cops and donuts, right? So we don't call them donuts. So I want you to know that I have renamed the donuts. I call them power rings, all right? So whenever you get a smart, I need to watch my language, a smart aleck youngster who says, oh, cops like donuts, I go, get it right, they're called power rings, kid. So anyway, and Barbie Cookie, I really appreciate them because they were my daughter's first employer. So, anytime the daughter gets a job, like, thank God. Well, Barbie Cookie was the first employer. So, yes, they're really good. I love working with Lindsay. It's always nice as a law enforcement official to partner with a financial institution where you can serve the citizens better. I think whether you're a public servant or you're a non-governmental entity like First Bank of Owasso, we have the same common goal, and that's to serve people. Now, Lindsay talked about what I believe was the easy part for you guys to want prosecution. Let me just say this about scams. I just want to add one thing in there really quick. Remember your grandpa or grandma probably told you, if it's too good to be true, it is, right? Right? That still applies. If it's too good to be true, it is. I mean, I get emails myself. I'm 50, I get emails myself saying, hey, do you want this free gas card? There's nothing free. I'm pretty sure I was raised of, if you want anything, you got to go work for it, right? You worked your whole lives to have the resources that you have, and there are people out there that want to get it from you. You worked your whole life for your retirement. And so there are people that say, well, I need to get my share now. When I first started doing this job for Vic Regalado in the sheriff's office, it was really neat. I remember taking my daughter, she's the only child. I walked her around my property and I said, do me a favor. See all this? It's all yours. Just wait till I'm dead. Right? You have resources that people want. Unfortunately, the easy part for you as a victim is, I want to press charges against those scammers, right? By God, I want the full weight of the law down on them. Think about this. What if it's your grandson, Timmy? Do you want to see your grandson in jail? Do you want to see your daughter in jail? That's what happens. So a lot of times when you have a family member who victimizes you, I now have a victim that's kind of waffly on, do I really want to see this person go to jail or not? That makes my job a little bit more difficult, right? Someone you don't know you press charges against, right? But I helped raise Timmy. I birthed Shirley. I don't want them to go to jail. I just want them to get help. The only way you can help a family member that victimizes you is giving them 3 hots and a cot. Because if you see me, my job is not to rehabilitate the family. Families are messy. When you get finances and family together, it's really messy. And a lot of times I get called in on the back end where it's just too late and other people are like, here, fix my problem. Fix my $2 million problem. Well, if I'm going to spend hours and hours on a case, someone's going to go to jail. I'm not doing it to rehabilitate a family. Somebody who victimized you is going to jail. You need to understand that. So when you call law enforcement, it's just not, I'm just need to file a police report. No, you're beginning a prosecution track. You need to understand that. And so that's why I always tell people, you do want to be a victim, correct? Meaning you will testify against your loved one. That's what you're going to have to understand, okay? Now I want to take a look at something. There is something that defines us as elderly. Do you know the state of Oklahoma actually has an estate statute what an elderly person is? Can you believe that? These legislatures actually think they can tell you what an elderly person is. Well, it's in the state statute that I gave to you. Under Title 843.4, I'll read it to you. Number C. For the purpose of this section, an elderly person means any person over 62 years of age or older. So if you're over 62 years of age, the state of Oklahoma defines you as elderly. What legislature did that? Couldn't they have at least bumped it up to 70? Right, according to this, I'm knocking on the door. Where's my AARP card? So, I want you to look at the statute 843.1. I want you to think about something, and it's the statute titled Caretakers, Abuse, Financial Neglect, Sexual Abuse, Exploitation. At some point, you may or may be in need of a caretaker. You may or may be in need of someone to help you with finances. I'm really thankful, those of you who are customers here at this bank, because you already have people in your corner. The people that I get to deal with don't have banks. What they have is their Social Security is being deposited on a card. They don't have a bank account. And their family members, quote unquote caretakers, are using their funds for their own expense. I have seen family members use the elderly person's, their grandma's Social Security, their grandpa's funds for prostitutes, for drugs, for shopping sprees at Walmart and Sam's, Costco, buying food for everyone, buying food for everybody in the housing project, except for grandma and grandpa. Go on trips, cruises, go to Vegas, and yet the elderly person gets none of the funds and resources. That was one of the first cases that I worked with Lindsay. It was a lady who I knew worked her whole life for the funds that she had. A sweet lady. When I saw her name from Adult Protective Services, my heart broke. I knew this lady personally. And those individuals just blew through her cash. So you need to be thinking about protecting yourself. Who do you want as a caretaker? You know, think about this. I want you to take the family member you trust the most and put them in your head for a minute. What family member do you trust the most? That could be the one that turns on you. Right? I want you to realize that. When it comes to your resources and the money you've worked hard for, let me help you. You can't trust anybody, especially family. I can't tell you enough. Make sure you have protections in place for your monies. If you have long-term care insurance, be looking at that, because there's going to come a point where you may need that. I've seen people work hard their whole life for resources and have resources for good care, and yet after the family members are done, the only place I can get them long-term care would be in a government-subsidized nursing home. Okay? That happens. On average, I work about 22 cases a month. By the time I get called for neglect, it's almost too late. I know that they'll probably be passed away within a month and a half. I have seen elderly people being cared for by their grandson have bed bugs and roaches in their bed sores. That's a reality. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm trying to get you to understand. Your trust circle is very small the older you get and the more resources you get. I've seen the craziest things break out because of money. You worked for it your whole life. So, let's take a look at this caretaker statute. It says here, no caretaker or other person shall abuse, They're not. They can't hit you. They can't abuse you. Commit financial neglect, meaning if you have a caretaker or someone who is your power of attorney, and you get to a point where you need help writing the checks, things like that. Well, if that person decides not to pay for your care, that is called financial neglect. That is a felony. That's a felony, financial neglect. I'm not going to pay for their care. I'm not going to pay for the nursing home. Yes, that has happened. Yes, I've seen law enforcement officials do that to their loved ones. Yes. Financial neglect. Neglect meaning you have someone that you depend on to take you to the doctor, go buy your groceries, go help you with some things around the house, and then all of a sudden that person stops. That is neglect. That's a felony. So when I see somebody who is laying in bed and cancer has just now metastasized outside of their head, and I see this, and I'm going, well, who took them to the doctor? Well, we just gave them some gauze pads to patch up their wound. That's not a wound, that's cancer, you idiot. I have 3 words for you. Get a lawyer, because you're going to jail. So if they don't provide care, that's a felony. Commit sexual abuse or exploit any person. Now, entrusted to their care. Now, with exploitation, here's the thing about that. That is someone taking your funds. And I'll get to the exploitation statute in a second. But the most important part about this statute that I love, that when an attorney looks at me and says, I'm not going to take the case. Well, they had capacity. They could consent to giving them their money. Well, that's interesting because subsection C of this statute says, consent shall not be a defense for any of the violations in this section. Well, I just consented. No, that's not going to save Timmy. I consented to them giving them the money. I consented not to going to the doctor. I consented not taking my medication. No, that doesn't work because according to this, thank God the legislature's got it right. Consent is not a defense. Okay, so keep that in mind. Before I go to the next one, I want to take a look at what a caretaker is. Before I go on, I just want to say one thing. Visiting us all the way from Las Vegas is my girlfriend, and she's in the corner, so everyone say hi. Hi. She's from Las Vegas. Actually, we grew up together in San Jose, California, so, life brought us back together. It was interesting, I went through divorce and reached out to her, and I said, by the way, I'm single and broke. Would you like to come hang out? And I guess that was appealing, I don't know. The only quality I had is, well, I'm a cool detective, I guess. So here's what a caretaker means. A caretaker is this in section 6, page 2 of what we're talking about, the mental health codes here. It's on your second page. A caretaker means a person who has A, the responsibility for care of the vulnerable adult for financial management of resources of the or vulnerable adult as a result of a family relationship. So I asked the question, is there a granddaughter around that comes by and, takes care of things? Yes, they write the checks. Okay. I've literally had people tell me they think they know the law better than me. They say, well, I wasn't court appointed to anything. How am I a caretaker? Well, does that say you have to be court appointed to anything? It just says family relationship. So if you have a trusted family member that's actually writing checks for you and managing financial resources for you, they're a caretaker. They don't have to be court appointed. I love that when they look at me and tell me, well, you have nothing on me. I wasn't court appointed. I go, oh, I'm so glad you know the law better than I do. I know two things when I walk into a home. I don't have a lot of time to work, and I know more about the law than anyone in that house. I do know those two things. And so I understand whenever I get pushback from family members, I just look at the statute. Well, your family relationship. Here's the other one. You assume the responsibility for care of a vulnerable adult by voluntarily, by contract, or as a result of ties of friendship. So let's say you have a friend, and that friend is taking time to come care for you a little bit, to come gain your trust a little bit, to isolate you away from your family a little bit. And that friend worms their way into your life. And you go, well, I'm not a caretaker, I'm just a friend. Really? That's interesting, because the state statute says by ties of friendship, you're a caretaker. But I wasn't court appointed to anything. I'm not a power of attorney on anything. Well, sucks to be you, because the statute says you're a caretaker. Remember I told you about the man who had the cancer metastasized outside of his head. And he was actually in a homeless encampment. These people preyed on him by getting him into their home. He was a veteran and was getting veteran benefits. They were charging him $500 a month to live in squalor. He didn't even have running water for a whole year. Did not take him to the doctor. And they thought they were in the clear. Well, no, we're just friends. They ended up in handcuffs, both of them, because ties of friendship. Here's the last one. We could appoint a caretaker is here by limited guardianship or appointed a guardian or conservator pursuant to the Oklahoma Guardianship or Conservatorship Act. So if a court appoints you as the conservator or a guardian, a lot of people think that the end all is being a power of attorney. And I think people, they get all cool about it. They go, I'm the power of attorney. I'm the POA. That means absolutely nothing to me other than you just have more culpability. I smell a suspect. I have ministers come up to me, I'm the POA. Oh, good. I'm looking for the guardian. That's really hard sometimes because some people don't want to take responsibility. I have family members call me, how do I help my relative? You need to be the guardian. Go get guardianship. One time I got phone call. I get phone call a lot at night from the patrol deputies. And they say, okay, I had someone show up with power of attorney and I had someone show up with the guardian. And I'm confused. What do? I said, you tell the power of attorney to go take a hike. The statute says the guardian is going to be the caretaker. So that's kind of the gold standard. Finally, and I'm going to let you and ask Lindsay and I questions, and I don't mean to take up time. I apologize. So there's this exploitation statute, 843.4, that I began with. That said that anyone 62 and over was going to be elderly. How dare they? I'm going to outline something for you here. So this is where no caretaker is involved. Somebody has wormed their way into your life and begins to take your money. It can be a family member. It can be a friend. Now, knowingly, by deception or intimidation, obtaining or using or endeavoring to obtain or use an elderly person or disabled adult's funds, assets, or property with the intent. So someone wants to get a hold of your property, your money, to temporarily or permanently deprive the elderly person or disabled adult the use of the possession or funds to their own benefit. I love it when they say, well, I was just trying to help them. I made these large cash withdrawals so I could help them. Okay, well, if you don't have receipts to tell me what you spent that cash on, we got a problem. Here's the other thing. I had granddaughters who were taking grandpa's card and were just having these huge shopping sprees at Walmart. I'm like, well, I know grandpa doesn't eat that much. I know grandpa doesn't drink that much beer. Walmart does something really cool. You know what they do? They keep all the tapes for a year, all the surveillance footage for a year. I had one lady, beautiful woman, nice lady. She was a church secretary at a Baptist church. She was in her 80s. And she came to the sheriff's office saying, you know, I'm scared, I'm losing money. And I always connect the dots. If there's financial abuse, more than likely there's probably going to be some type of physical abuse. And she said it was her daughter, but she was just trying to get the daughter, leave her alone. Daughter would cuss her out, threaten her, but no physical abuse, none at all. So, okay, take the bank statements. I looked through them, and here's the Baptist church secretary. I said, ma'am, do you go to the dispensary? No, I don't smoke dope. That ages somebody when they call it dope. I don't do that. Well, I'm not judging you, you know. You could be a patient, I don't know. Ma'am, do you go to the smoke shop? No, I don't smoke. Well, someone is. Did you buy all these things from the Walmart? No, but she does take me to Walmart and forces me to give her my card. Okay, so I went to the dispensary. They don't like cops coming in there. They said, yes, we know who did that. Here's who scanned the card. Here's the patient card she presented, and it wasn't grandma. I knew that. I just need proof. Definitely doesn't look like grandma. Okay. Went to the smoke shop. No, we know who that was. No, it wasn't the old lady. Okay, cool. Wasn't the church secretary putting the bulletin together. No. Okay. Then I go to Walmart. I see all these purchases. What I see in the video was the lady snapping her fingers at her mom, getting in her mom's face, ripping mom's purse away from her, and grabbing her card and spending it. I also saw huge bandages on her mom's arms. So I knew then we had physical abuse. And that was very personal for the mom to confess to me, yes, she physically abuses me. When it's family, it's messy. There are times I see family members go after other family members, and I thank God I'm the only child. I'm the only one who made decisions. When my mom passed away, I was the only one that decided how that was going to happen. I didn't have to fight over anything. And thank God mom had no money, because there was nothing to fight over anyway. Man, money messes with family. Now watch this. They say they can stand in a position of trust and confidence with the elderly or disabled adult, or has a business relationship with the elderly person or disabled adult. I use that a lot of times when, so let's say there's some type of contract. They're going to mow for them, and there's money exchanged, and the guy who's mowing takes on more, does more than what he should be doing, and just ingratiates himself to the female, you know. Okay, you had a business relationship with the person, and then you begin to exploit them. Or you go into a business with somebody who exploits you for money. Or you're renting to somebody. That's another thing I like to use a lot. If someone's not paying the elderly person the money that's due them, I'll go out them for exploitation. It's really hard for law enforcement to do this because it takes a lot of hours of work. Hospital records, bank statements. I'm going to end with this one story and then turn it over to Lindsay. There was a lady who suffered from strokes, and her significant other was about 15 years younger than her. He was very abusive. Most police officers would actually go to this residence to do domestic violence report, and there wasn't domestic violence. It really was abuse by caretaker. They don't like to get that messy. It's just easier to say it's domestic violence going down the road. No, it's abuse by caretaker. The lady was having strokes because of the strangulation that was taking place. So a hospital was very keen. One of the local hospitals actually called me directly and said, can you come talk to this lady? And she didn't want any pictures taken of all the injuries. Because nothing happened, she fell. And she had the strokes. The husband was the caretaker. And I remember making sure my body camera was rolling so I could capture what I needed. Right? If she don't want me to take pictures, that's fine. I have to have my body camera on for policy. I captured the photos. She fell, she said. So I knew in my heart I was on a limited time. Maybe 2 months tops. She was in pretty bad shape. She was very distrusting of law enforcement. And I just said, you know, I'm just here to help, you know, how can I help you? She didn't want my help. Okay. Is consent a defense? No. Okay. So I ended up going, she said she fell on the porch, so I went to the apartment complex to go see the porch. Here this guy was, very snarky individual. I said, why aren't you with your wife in the emergency room? Oh, well, she didn't want me there. Well, there was another woman inside the apartment with him at the time. And there was enough marijuana coming out of that apartment. I had the munchies just standing at the front door. And I said, listen to me very carefully. You're her caretaker. You have left her in the hospital by herself. That in itself is caretaker neglect. I can articulate that. I said, the other thing is, I'm pretty sure the strokes are from asphyxiation, which when the time comes, I'll make sure the medical examiner can prove that. I said, there's no planet or galaxy or universe that's in existence where you're smarter than me. I will nail you. And I did. She died 3 weeks later. I got the phone call from the hospital, from the medical examiner, investigator, Megan Harris. And I just remember her telling me, no, she didn't want to press charges. And if I could just say one thing, I was raised by my grandparents. I came from a very abusive home. My grandparents raised me, and that's why it's such a passionate topic for me. Because every time I see the person that's been victimized, I see my grandma, I see my grandpa. And, you know, even though it can sometimes be a pain in the rear end to untangle all the family situations, it's very messy and sticky. But I do have a victim that needs justice. And so that's why I do what I do, just like Lindsay had a personal connection to this. No one's jumping up and down in the law enforcement industry saying, I hope I get to be an elder abuse. That's not sexy, that's not cool. You know, that takes a lot of hours of poring over bank statements and hospital records that I have to subpoena. Then I have to convince an attorney to take the case. It's not fun, it takes a toll. And most of the victims that I deal with end up passing away at some point. So I just give this information to you all just to give you some awareness. And I'm just going to turn it back over to Lindsay now.